Hey squad, welcome back. Now today's video is dedicated to answering two awesome questions posed by a couple of viewers. The first one relates to drum fills and the second one relates to drum notation, where if you're a drummer who can read drum notation, I'll show you how you can display the full drum and percussion score right here in Logic. Okay, let's dive in. Okay, so for the first question, posed by Irene Shan, and it reads, awesome tutorial. Thanks for sharing. Is it possible if you could please do a tutorial on how to make drum fills? Thanks again. Peace. Well, thank you so much for posing this question, and I'm happy to be able to show this using Logic Pro Drummer. So let's jump into that one. Okay, for our demonstration today, this is what we're working with. We have 17 bars of music, starting with a 1-bar intro, followed by 2 8-bar sections. And the idea is to show you how you can use drum fills to create those nice transitions from one section to the next and add that extra bit of life to your production. Now we're starting off with this drum loop right here. Cool. The next thing I've got going on is some percussion delivered by the Logic Pro percussionist on the Latin style. Make sure you check out my video on the Logic Pro percussionists. I'll be doing a new one soon, but for now, definitely worth checking out. Got a second percussionist giving me some hand claps. Okay, next up we've got our Logic session bassist. And here's another video you really ought to check out, which is my video on the Logic Pro Session Bass Player. If you haven't seen it, check this one out as well. And then I've got some guitars and horns provided by Output Arcade. The guitars are coming from the Funk U Suite and the Locked In preset. And for the horns, we're running with the 70s Suite and the Superstruck preset. So let's hear a few bars of this lot together. Okay, a really funky groove. So before we tackle the intro, you would notice that this drum loop sample has got no fills whatsoever. It's just a straight, cool groove. So in order to add some nice fills, what I did was create a new session drummer track, and I went for the neo soul drum style. Now this is the important bit. I switched off the kick, the snare, and the hats. I then increased the fill amount to 30%. And the complexity to 50%. The other important thing right here was to make sure that this drummer region was following the original drum loop. So it's staying in time and grooving with the drum loop. The other thing I did here was add a bit of swing because the drum loop is actually swinging. I also adjusted the feel and pulled back by this amount here. So let's have a listen to the transition from this section over to this section with just the bass, the drums and percussion. Now, when we came in on this next 8 bars of the drum fills, what I did was I then introduced the hi-hat to create a bit more of a dynamic energy on this section. I'm now going to push the drum fill up to about 40% here. So we're going to get more fills in between and something slightly different at the end of the 8-bar section. We're still following the drum loop and the chord progression, which I've programmed in at the top there. Incidentally, if you haven't yet seen my video on how to use the Logic Pro chord track, make sure you check this one out. It's going to be really useful in helping you to unlock the full potential of the Logic Pro session players. So let's have a quick listen to how the drum fills are creating more interest in this section. Okay, cool. The other thing you'll notice down here is on the first percussion section, looking at the complexity and intensity sliders, when we move to the second 8 bars, I've increased that some more and I've brought in some more instruments at the top here. And I'm going to boost the fill up to about, let's say 50% there. and the complexity, maybe take it 25%, just keeping things evolving over time. With the hand claps, we just want it nice and straight, nothing complicated at all. The only thing I've got going on here with the claps is I've set the feel to a minus 19% pull. And incidentally, with the main percussion section, for the feel, I've gone for minus 100%. So I want this to be really laid back. Now let's look at the intro. As you can hear, we've got a nice drum intro bringing us into the production. And the way to do so, you move the whole production along to the right by 1 bar and you'd create a new drummer region. We will then pull that back to just a 1 bar section. And of course, you'll make sure that these are switched off. You can keep your hi-hat in if you like, and you'll set the fill amount to whatever you like. So if we were to go like maybe all the way up like so, again, you will adjust to your own very specific taste. So that's a quick run through on how you create your drum fills. Let me play this through one more time. Another video that's definitely worth you checking out if you have not yet seen it, it's my video on the Logic Pro Session Drummer for Logic Pro 11. Definitely worth a watch. Okay, so let's tackle the second question by this great viewer. And it reads, "Hey Deuce, I love your video tutorials. Quick question about the drum track in Logic. How do I see the drum score notations of the drum machine?" Well, let me show you how. Okay, so let's first start with this drummer track right here. First things first, let's make it clear. You won't be able to read the drum score of this drum track in its current state. What you need to do is convert this to MIDI. So let's right click on the region, then come down to convert, and then convert to MIDI. Now, we're looking at the MIDI region. As you can see in the piano roll, all of the drum instruments being used here and the interval at which they're being triggered. The next thing you want to do is make sure that you're on the drum track like so. Come over here to the inspector and click this down arrow next to track. At the bottom here where it says staff style, select that and go to the very bottom and choose hash drums. Double click on the region and choose score just here. Now come over here to where it says style, click here and come right down to hash drums. Now if you're a drummer, you'd recognize this type of notation. Now instead of linear view, you'd either want to have wrapped view or page view. If we scroll up, and I would see all of the notation that would make sense to a drummer. Another way of displaying this is to come to Window, choose Open Score Editor. And now this would make sense to you drummers out there that can read music. So as usual, I really do hope I've brought you value in this video. And if I've done so, remember to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave me a comment. It's always great hearing from you. You can also download the Drum Fills Logic Pro project file from my Patreon, which is at patreon.com/MTTC. There's a ton of other stuff I've got over there for you to download and try out, and also use the links in the description to try out arcadeByOutput.com for free, as well as all of the Waves plugins I've used in the project. So until next time, I'm Deuce, I'm out. Peace.